Welcome back, everybody. Okay, so just before we begin, if you have not watched part one of isoquants and returns to scale, please do so. Okay, now then let's get into it. So we know what an isoquant is. We know that basically, and we've dealt with returns to scale, which was our inputs and our outputs, all right? So now we've come to this graph, all right, which shows us as you can see from the graph, we have here Q, which is representing your isoquant, which also represents your output. Okay, so hold on. Yeah, so Q always will represent both the isoquant and your output. All right, and then notice for your y-axis, it's represented by capital, and for our x-axis, it's represented by labor. Okay, so you may ask yourself, how do I do this? Because it seems so confusing. All right. So firstly, this is our formula. I call it Heaven's formula by Easy Street. Do not forget this formula. And it's quite simple. Your returns to scale is your new value divided by the old value. Okay, now let's get into it. So, for example, right, we are moving from here. So if you look at this graph, right, this is A. I just want to show you this. So this is A, that's A, this point. And at A, notice that's our capital, and our capital is 1. And down below, your labor is 1. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to write down at A, and you're going to write down inputs, and you're going to write down labor and capital, and then you will put down the values as they are. And on the right side, you're going to write down your outputs, and then you're going to trace this curve that's going through A, and you're going to see what does Q equal to. Well, in this case, at A, Q equals to 1. Then you're going to do the same thing at B. So if we come back up, we look at B, we'll see that capital is 2, and we go down. Labor is also 2, and if we trace across the curve that's intersecting B, we find that Q is equal to 3. All right, so we have our data. Good. So now the next step from this is quite easy. All we have to do is simply follow the rule. So firstly, you're going to calculate, you're going to calculate your input. All right, so for labor, I'm calculating labor. Now my labor, notice it's the new value of the old value, and I'm going from A to B. So B is my new value. And what is B? For labor, B is 2. Okay, my old value was 1. 2 divided by 1 will give me what? 2, right? And we know since it's the same values, K is also going to give you 2, right? Okay, cool. Remember now, this is very important. What is labor and capital? It's your inputs, okay? Don't forget this. This is your inputs. Remember how we calculate returns to scales. Remember your alpha, remember your beta, remember the production function. We're always dealing with, and just before I go on, remember it's your isoquant, it's your inputs that can produce your output. We're always dealing with output and input. Okay, now then, let's trace back. So then we're going to do the same thing for your output. Okay, so we've calculated input. We know that our inputs are equal to each other, and it's 2. Now let's calculate our output. Again, it's our new value, which is 3, divided by our old value, which is 1, which gives you what? 3. And always remember that your output is on the left. So therefore, if our, hold on, this is very untidy. So therefore, So therefore, since the output is 3 and our input is 2, we have increasing returns to scale. So let's check if we are right. Hold on. Boom. Now I really encourage you to try B to C and C to D. So I'm just gonna give you one moment and then I'm going to erase B to C and then erase C to D and you're gonna try. Okay, so pause the video and have a try. Okay, from B to C, if you calculated it correctly, it's constant returns to scale. And now from C to D, we have decreasing returns to scale. Thank you and all the best for exams.